esteemed privilege to welcome you to the final evening of this year's staging of the Public Parenting Lecture Series. This event is in collaboration with the University of the West Indies, Western Jamaica Campus, Department of Sociology, Psychology, and Social Work, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Southeastern Regional Health Authority, the Western Regional Health Authority, and the Jamaica Psychiatric Association. Welcome once again. This evening's proceedings will be delving into the dimension of fathering within the Jamaican space. According to a report released by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, more than a third of our children do not have any active father figure engaged in their life, and over 90% of all Jamaican households are female-led. This evening, our moderator, David Butler, an associate applied psychologist, freelance statistician, and adjunct lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Western Jamaica Campus, in his final year of a postgraduate diploma in education and training, will be hosting two of our very own homegrown local fathers. When Mr. Butler is not in teaching or classing, he enjoys reading, has a love for music, and loves to put together puzzles. It is his belief that most of life's difficulties are given to us as an opportunity to serve our own internal puzzles. It is this principle that guides his approach to navigating life's obstacles, typically with very positive and meaningful results. In his experience, the best prizes can be found anywhere, over a tall mountain, behind a vast forest, or right at our feet. He reminds others and himself to keep a sharp eye out for those moments. And that is why he is most fitting to speak to our fathers that have so wonderfully and humbly put themselves forward to join us as we speak about a sensitive, raw, and intimate topic, fathering children with exceptionalities. Sir Butler, over to you.
Thank you, Miss Rose. Thank you for that introduction. Very glad to be here. I'm looking forward to this opportunity to get some insight from the fathers on our panel. So this evening, I'm going to start off with some questions from myself, and then after those, then we're going to move to getting some questions from the viewers on YouTube, and we'll take it from there. So this should be a quick session. Just get in, get the information we need, and then we're off to process it. All right, so our fathers, Andrew Vassell and let's see, and Kirk Tomlinson, our other father, welcome. And we want to start off the questioning nice and light. So I'd like to ask you, do your children exhibit any what would I say, internalizing or externalizing behaviors? Are they more internal in how they experience the world, or do they exhibit more externalizing behaviors?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Kirk Tomlinson here. So to start it off, my daughter exhibits more external behavior than internal. And when we say external, we're talking about, being miserable, picky, cries a lot, very temperamental, generally miserable, but at the same time being very strong-willed. She can come across as being aggressive, passive-aggressive at times, very hyperactive, very territorial. I think, those are some of the sound main qualities that we would have looked for, and most of which are external.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Sir Vassell, in your experience, what about you?
Go ahead. Yeah, hello?
We're hearing you.
Yeah, I had to move for the location. It was very loud, so I had to move,
Okay, not a problem.
All right.
Okay, so I was just asking you if your son has exhibits more internalizing behaviors or externalizing. So
I would
like
say more.
depression, anxiety. We're going?
No, no. I would say more like internal. You know.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, is more like what you call it, more subtle. You know,
Mm,
it don't really, show much like a outside, and stuff like not aggression or nothing like that or stuff. But
okay.
it
So it's
more
more
like
internal.
right, and he's more into himself and and stuff. He's just like that there.
Okay. And for you, Sir Russell, how old is your son?
No, he's now 15.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
And Sir Tomlinson, how old is your daughter?
Yeah, she's 5 years old.
Okay, great. So I have a question that I think would work in a case like this. One is a girl and young, one is an older boy.
Mhm.
Um, for you, Sir Tomlinson, with your daughter at her age, how have you found her behaviors to mesh with your parenting style? How have you had to adjust?
So that's a good question. So I am married, and my spouse is a medical doctor. So we would have had some advantages in terms of the pairing of a mixture, a hybrid of what I would call um, a mixture between the authoritarian parenting style and the passive parenting style. And funny enough, given my varying backgrounds, military and otherwise, of the past, you would expect that I would be the authoritarian one, where in
Mm.
reality, I am more the passive one, and my wife really takes a firm hold between the authoritarian role and even the passive role as well, because at the end of the day, parenting style has to change almost on a daily basis to accommodate my daughter's behavior, because she won't exhibit the same behavior every day. It's pretty consistent, but it may not be consistent across just being aggressive. It could be being stubborn. It could be you know having meltdowns, having tantrums, etc. And depending on the situation that you're faced with, a more aggressive style of parenting would be needed sometimes, versus others would be a very, passive, soft spoken instruction, and a lot of repetition, a lot of reinforcement and positive reinforcement to just bring across the point that you're trying to make, or you're trying to get her to do something, whether she wants to do it, yes or no, that very strong-willed nature coming out. But we found that you would have to take a hybrid approach to the parenting style. Now, on some days, I am the authoritarian. On some days, I'm very passive, very compliant. It just depends on her mood. And when you're dealing with a neurodivergent child, it's difficult to know how they'll wake up one morning and be very loving and very attentive, versus another morning they wake up and they don't want to comply with even getting out of the bed or doing anything that you would want or expect a general, in general, children to follow, simple set of instructions, etc.
Mm. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Um, Sir Sir Vassal, since
Yes,
your
sir.
son is 15, you said?
Yes, 15.
So given the time that you've had with your son, have you noticed that he has changed over time? And if you've had to change with him over time, or what has been the dynamic been with him from when he was born up to now?
Well, certainly. I mean, we have to make some adjustment, and he has. I was listening to the gentleman a while ago, and everything that he said actually the stages that we went through and stuff, but it's a little bit different once the child reaches a certain age, but it depends on the severity of the situation with the autism. All right. Our son was, I mean, trust me, it was really hard growing up. I mean, both myself and the mother, we had to like put down the foot and, deal with the situation and stuff. Like it's something that you never really expect. I mean, most parents with autism, they just I mean, people without, play a blind eye. But once it's something that catch you, you realize, say, boy, this is the reality, right? And stuff. You start to study and you start to, you start to understand the whole thing and so forth. But I mean, once a child passes a certain stage, I think it gets a little bit easier. That I'm at a stage now where I don't think it is stressing like at first when that gentleman probably going through now, but actually he's in the teenage stage, so he's more, his behavior is calm down, he's stimming less, and everything is just a little bit going a little bit normal. It put me at a little bit at ease that maybe later on, probably even can be able to, live by himself and, do regular stuff and things. But there's a lot of things where it's still you can see a little bit of tantrum at then, but all those stuff are still there. And, so it's something that's not gonna exactly go away, but some of them will diminish after a while. They won't really say and so forth. But it's okay. I mean, it's something that you learn to live with. So at the end of the day, it just gradually become normal. That it's just something that you're looking forward to, and so forth.
Okay. You mentioned something that gave me it prompted me to ask this question. So
Mm-hmm.
you've noticed he's calmed down, but typically we'd expect when young boys are going through puberty that
Mm-hmm.
that is where the aggressive behavior, that's where the challenges to the parent comes in. Have you noticed that he's not as interested in challenging your authority?
No, no, no. He's no, no. Trust me, it doesn't, and it doesn't behave that way. As we would expect, like if puberty, as I said, would kick in and stuff. But I don't. Maybe he's just one little different, which I expect like a normal child. He would see other stuff
Hmm.
like behavioral problems, and I mean, on a high scale. But to him, I don't really see that much, and stuff. So. Hats off. I don't know, but he's just calm and to me, he's okay. I don't really experience that much with him with that behavior.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Back to you, Sir Tomlinson.
Yeah.
What does your daughter like to do when she's playing? Does she play by herself or does she have interest in others? How does
So
she play?
so so earlier when she was maybe younger, 2, 3, she would spend a lot of time alone. Or she wouldn't integrate well with groups of children. She would play alongside them, not necessarily with them. And that was always something that we looked at and we observed. And her mommy, being a medical professional, would be using certain evaluative tools at the time, together with me, and we would make certain observations, etc. Because her behavior in a group setting would be, you know between the behavioral and the social displays of tantrums and calamity. um, you know, when you have children that are not neurodivergent, it would be hard for them to integrate and assimilate into that group because, kids are very judgmental generally.
Yes.
So what happened is when you don't talk like us, when you don't act like us,
Hmm.
maybe something is wrong.
Hmm.
And that goes to the type of recognition that we have generally in the society where, we would be a little judgmental with other parents without when you're not a parent of a neurodivergent
Hmm.
child.
Right.
Um, Easy to look on to say, that father there or that mother they can't control him, little pick me or whatever. But
Hmm.
then now when you're living with it, you're like, oh, that
Hmm.
level of understanding comes in where you say, oh, you know what, maybe, they are facing more difficulties than meet the eye. So, I mean, with regards to school, with regards to play, with regards to, general activities, neurodivergence is something that you look at, and it's something that every parents of autistic kids or neurodivergent kids, we have that just extra work to do. alongside the child all the time, because at the end of the day, it's more effort on their part to integrate into groups, to play with other children, and they have different reactions. So something that you would expect neurotypical child to just comply with and go along with, neurodivergent children do not. And it depends on the severity of each child. Some may just not respond at all, while some, throw down themselves on the ground and the world is coming to an end because they
Mm,
can't get to hold a ball for as long as they want to. And these are just the various stages and motions that we have to go through as parents generally.
mhm. Thank you for sharing. And Sir Vassal, for you, what does your son like to do? What kind of interactions does he like? Does he like to play by himself, or does he get along with his peers?
All right. From ever since, that is one thing that from ever since he was small, he's a loner. He's always by
Mm,
himself, even now. I mean, uh, the change of schools, the different schools, we're expecting him to like interact with kids, but we're not so lucky in that way to have him in that. But that to me was very important. I wish he was like that, where he could have friends, but he's a loner, and stuff. He's really smart. He built his own channel, his YouTube channel and stuff. But
mhm,
socially, trust me, it's not there with my son. He just prefers to be by himself. When he's home, you know, in his room, he loves his computer, his tablet, he designs and stuff, and all those
mm,
artistic things he does. But actually, what the gentleman said, yeah, it is like when he's saying certain things, I'm reliving what I went through with my like tantrum and what people would say and all them things. So listening
mm.
to him now, I say like, why, those are the days. But sir, later on, I don't know the severity of your child, but I mean, later on there'll be better days, I can tell you,
Well,
and stuff.
you see, I like the fact that you're saying that, there's bringing up a stark contrast, because my daughter, on the other hand, is a social butterfly now. Very, very
Oh,
social. She likes to be in the center of the attention. She likes to, have she holds a room and holds the room hostage. you know, she likes to be the center of attention. She likes to be the person, the lead character in any single solitary thing that she does. She's a social butterfly. She'll just come right up to you and start talking to you and just, trying to have that level of interaction with you. But it wasn't always that way. But we've seen through the years where, I mean, yes, she's at 5 years old now, but we see where the stark difference between when she was 4, when she was 3, when she was 2. And
oh.
yeah, it's just been, yeah,
So
there
you,
are other
you can
social
imagine when
facets.
she reached 15,
Oh,
14,
absolutely.
15. Right, right. So as I say, it's not, and stuff. But as I said, the severity of it depends on the mild to moderate to severe, in between stages. Every child is different, it's like a fingerprint. So no two is the same. So some of us are lucky, some of us are not that lucky because, I mean, I've seen my son and I've seen far worse that I would say, well, I wish I wouldn't, that wasn't that parent, but at the end of the day, it trust me. This thing here, it's, as I would say, I mean, who feels it knows it,
Absolutely.
something that
Absolutely.
when it happens to
Absolutely.
you, then when you research and you see all of this, you say,
You broke up there at the end.
Yeah, it broke up. Yeah,
You
but
still with us, Sir
just
Russell?
just to add to that,
Oh, yes, sir.
that's correct, because at the end of the day, even though we've seen a metamorphosis of just change from, kind of being a loner to now being a little social butterfly. I mean, she's not there, where we'd say neurotypically yet, not fully
Mhm,
there,
mhm,
but we can see the transition between, being the loner to now, being a little social butterfly, but then, there's always some level of catching up to do with neurodivergent kids.
Mm,
Because they may be playing well together, but they may still have some limitations in terms of communication. They may still have some limitations in terms of social cues and accepting and understanding social cues and social behavior, because not everything is a spoken language. Sometimes things are said via body
mm-hmm,
language, and they take a time to catch on to those little social
mm,
cues. And it could be a little awkward sometimes when a little kid is like, I want to start playing now, and they don't really pick up on the
mm-hmm.
facial expressions and the body expressions to say, oh,
Right.
this person is tired, this person is unhappy, this person is sad, because to them they're just on off, on off, on off. They don't stop until they're either tired or bored. So
Mm,
it does make it a little difficult, but I mean, it's a learning process for both them and us as parents.
mm.
Oh.
And I take it that the condition has a way of it's like you're saying, they're not picking up on the social cues. They don't easily take the perspective of others. So they might be tired or they might not want to play anymore. Or
Right.
they want to play some more, but it's coming from their perspective and they expect the world around them to be ready when they're ready and not ready when they're not ready.
Well, they're only seeing it through their own eyes, and
Right.
at the end of the day, neurodivergence is something that I think still requires a lot of research, and still has a lot of understanding to go, because
Sir Tomlinson, are you there?
like Mr. Vassar would have said, like 1 to 3, some could be a low 1, some could be a high 3. You don't know. It's just where you fall. It's just where you
Right.
fall.
Right. Yes, thank you. Sir Vassal, are you there?
Yes, man, I'm still here.
Okay. I wanted to ask, what new skills, what new skills have you garnered? So these can be communication skills, social skills, anything. But are there any skills that you can identify that as a result of having a neurodivergent child that it has helped you to grow, not just in your relationship with your child, but generally with other people?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I don't know if I'm going off script here or if I'm answering a question, but to be honest with you, since my child was diagnosed with the autism, I mean, with me on a whole, trust me, you look at the world a little different. You're sympathetic. It suckles you. You're, I think it make you such a good parent that you respect everybody, you respect everything. You, well, I don't know how to put it. If you see a person on the road who schizophrenic, you respect the person because I don't know how you reach there, because when something happened to you, as I said before, that is the thing that you look at and you say, boy, this could happen to anybody and stuff. And even things that happen to other people, you would never ever want to happen to your child. So,
Mm,
it make you respect people more. You look at people differently. So if anybody doesn't change who has an autistic child, if they were before that, they're playing for a blind eye, they don't care about people. And this thing happened to them and don't let them change. Trust me, they're not real. Trust me.
mm, I hear you. I hear you. Thank you for sharing. Sir Tomlinson, what are your thoughts?
Repeat the question, please.
What new skills,
Ah,
social skills, communication skills, any skills that you've garnered as a result of being a parent of an autistic child?
patience. Patience, 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 patience. You learn a level of patience that you've never had, or if you were a patient person, you're no Job.
Mm, mm,
I
It's
think,
true.
yeah, man, more than even that, I think you learn better time management as well, because everything takes longer with a neurodivergent child. Everything takes longer, everything happens in a particular way, and then even you as a parent has to you have to adapt to their learning style, to their how they eat, what they eat, how they play, when they sleep. So a lot of the times when you try to regulate the behavior of a child, it takes so much longer to get into a routine, when it's bedtime, when it's bath time, when it's nap time, when it's food time, when it's homework time. And to get the discipline, or to have them appreciate the discipline of structure, it takes so much longer, and everything for them is repetition, 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 more so than a neurotypical child, where you talk to them 2 3 times, and all right, you give them the eye, then they're acting right, and they get it at the same time.
Mhm.
When I
Mhm.
give my daughter the eye, she thinks I wants to play. you know
Mhm. Mhm.
so I think you also learn to be innovative, in finding ways that work for her, and not necessarily, you know, people would think, okay, something as simple as food, something, most kids would like to explore at least some kind of new food. Here we are just working with us a process of elimination at all times. It's easier to find what she does eat than what she doesn't, because she, it doesn't really like to try new things, and you have to know, what is available, what she will take to, what she won't take to. So, you can imagine traveling into a different country, or a different region, or she likes how her mother cooks this, but her grandmother,
Mhm.
oh no, which you know people would take offense to it. But you learn to adapt, and I think, innovation comes with parenting generally, but even more so with a neurodivergent child than anything else. I honestly believe so.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. At this time, I'm going to ask persons to start entering the questions on YouTube if you haven't already started. I'm going to end with my questions. I have one more question for our fathers, and then I'll turn over to YouTube. So in the meantime, please enter your questions so that we can hit the ground running. All right. My last question, it's about resources. So as a parent of a child with autism, it's understandable that it requires a lot of internal resources. And as we know, that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. So the question I have is, what resources do you turn to replenish your internal resources? What do you turn to? Is it religious activities, videos online, therapy? What do you do to recuperate, relax, leisure time, anything?
Uh, that's a tricky one. I mean, understand that um providing for our neurodivergent kids is a full-time task, and uh you have to lean on your network, you have to lean on your family members. I'm fortunate enough to be able to lean on my spouse heavily, extended family, friends that are also parents of neurodivergent children that we can bounce ideas off and have
Mm,
parent time, one-on-ones, trying to learn ideas, get ideas from them. But I can understand where that's a fortunate position, because not many parents have access to something like that. But otherwise,
mm,
yeah, you're right. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you have to take a holistic approach to wellness, health. For me I'm an outdoors man, so exercise, gym, those various outdoor activities, and something that people take for granted, alone time. Sometimes you need
mhm,
to be away from everything, and not just me, but also my spouse. Because
mhm,
clearly, as a working professional as well, there is that responsibility shouldering, everything that she has to do, and we have to provide some time and some avenue, for either parent to have a break, or to at least get a moment to themselves, to do what they want to do, whether it's reading, cooking, you know, any activity that takes your mind off the here and now. So it gives you some cognitive break from overthinking a lot of the times, because you know I like to wing it. My wife likes to plan it. So, you know, a lot of the times, you know, I can understand where there's a clash where that would be concerned. But at the end of the day, we make it work because, you know, we're a good team, or we at least try to be. But, you know, where one is tired and overburdened, the other must, you know, really try and take over as best as possible. You'll never get it right 100% of the days, but you give it your best, and you know, always recognize that everybody is constantly learning, constantly adapting to the circumstances, and whatever you know we need to do to adapt, yeah, override and overcome. So, you know, every day is a new day, every day is a challenge. We find what we need to do to just take our minds off it, focus on the here and the now, and then plan accordingly for the needs of the child. That's as best as I can put it.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Tomlinson. Turning over to Mr. Vassell. So same
Yeah.
question. What do you do to replenish, recenter, rejuvenate?
Okay. Well, um, but I heard what the gentleman said just now, and a lot of what he says, you know, it's not a lot. Almost everything what he said, I agree with and stuff. But a lot of us not fortunate enough to have like family members, especially like his mom and I. His mom practically she would be the breadwinner, but I am the one who does everything for him. Even the era where I live, they call me the autism whisperer. That it sounds strange, but folks would bring their kids to me and say to me that, boy, they have a child here. Because I'm in the rural area, you know, if you don't know, and stuff.
Okay.
But I am very good at it where if you give me a minute or you give me 2 minutes with a child, I can look at a child and I could tell you that something is not right with this child, you know? And actually, I'm known in the community. Even schools would call me, they would call me on the side, you know, they don't let the parent know, or somebody would say, boy, have a child here behaving. I would just look. First thing I would tell them is just get the ears tested, because if a child can't hear properly, it will not respond, you know, and stuff. But I've seen cases where folks come back to me and they thank me, child have a hearing problem, and there's a lot of folks there that I mean they used to come there daily, trust me, and stuff. Yeah, and that's the reason why I realized that this thing here is so much. I don't know what's happening, but I mean everybody seems to be having a problem now. I mean, if you check classrooms right now, you'll find that every classroom, even a primary school, prep school, there's a child here with some, you know, disability, like with the autism
An
and stuff.
exceptionality. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man, and so forth. But I mean, I am not that fortunate to have like I mean, I am not from where I'm at the rural area, so we have this mom and I have to be the one that you know, pushing, you know, and stuff to get our son, you know. There's not much family around and stuff. So, you know, we're more like, yeah, alone. We have to be doing it ourselves and so forth, which is very, 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 very hard. Very hard. So, you know, I don't know if I really answer that question properly because I'm not that, you know, and stuff, but I just, you know, tell you what I think
Well,
there.
chances are there's something there. There's an insight there that one somebody out there on YouTube definitely needs to hear at this point, but also
Yeah,
it's
man.
something you need to get off. So
Yeah, man.
welcome it.
I've even let people who were once like they have kids with disability. I personally there's so much people that come on the road, they come and they would thank me that boy because I spoke to them, let their children come on the road and they used to have them in the house and I'm not really ashamed or nothing. I bring my child anywhere I'm going. And if anybody looks at me anywhere, I would just look back, you know, and stuff forth. And I mean, people, trust me, if you go where I'm from, you would hear about me that, I mean, that everybody, once I see, that's the only good thing again. Once I see my son and stuff, everybody knows because I do not keep him like other folks away from the public and I let everybody aware. If anything, you know, everybody can say, boy, they can look after him or whatever and stuff forth. So I don't really keep my son that way. I bring him everywhere, and I don't stop. You understand what I mean? So
That's a very very good thing. That's a very very good thing because and that's very important. A parent, we can't be in denial as parents. You cannot be in
right.
denial because when you yourself as a parent is in denial, you are restricting the help to the child. You need to start early, start from day one, like Mr. Vassal said. And
Mm-hmm.
guess what? Um, there is no shame in parenting because you are a parent no matter what. And
Mm-hmm.
whether you are a single parent, whether you have the spousal support or family support or not, the important thing is family can come and go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will venture to say as far as even spouses can come and go because they were, your child will always be. And
Mm-hmm.
that's very interesting because at the end of the day, when you have that level of determination to help your child no matter what, you're not embarrassed. You embrace it because at the end of the day, if you're embarrassed about your child, then you're embarrassed about yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the times as fathers, especially men in general in the society, um, the value system in the society typically is for women and for children. Men typically have to take a back seat in most regards, where the family unit is concerned, etc. Well, yeah, man, nobody no business with man, etc., etc., etc. But what you have to understand also, men are an empirical part of the family unit, and especially, with the statistics that is out there, absentee fathers and you know, households that are led singularly by mothers. You know, there are several factors that you can look at, I think. But having a male in the household, a father that is stepping up to the plate to provide that level of love and care for their children, especially autistic children. The child may not be able to respond how most people would appreciate a response or a gesture, but they never forget it. And they definitely take it in and they appreciate it. And believe me, when they do start communicating and they're able to express their love in their way, I think that's what makes it worth it as a father. You will be proud of your child regardless of anything else. And I can think Mr. Vassal will be thinking the same way, that regardless of what anybody thinks, we don't care. We don't give a hoot.
No, we
We
don't
just
care.
we just need to do what we need to do for our children, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what other people think. Other people don't pay our bills. We do. We put bread on the table. We provide for our children primarily. So, we need to just do what we need to do to have them happy, have them taken care of, and have them feeling safe.
Right. And what I notice when I go anywhere we're around artistic kids, and not really artistic kids alone, but most of the time I'm seeing the mothers, you know? And sometimes you say to yourself, say, where where the I mean, I even went to Montego Bay, and there's a room with everybody looking a shadow for the kids. And I'm looking around, I'm the dad there. All mothers. I'm like, where are the fathers, And stuff. So when you see our father and so forth, you have to give him a big shout out, man. And that man so like you're a real man, a boss, and stuff. It's not like you're there for your child. And I respect that. But we need more to get more people. I mean, fathers who are aware that, okay, listen, man, the mothers can't do this alone. The father have to step up the plate. It's something what I see. You understand? Most of the time, I see it's just the mothers mostly with the artistic kids them. So we just need the fathers them to really come out and support the mothers. It's not just a mother thing. It's just a family. You need the family to come together and get this thing with and deal with it, man. You understand?
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, so we have some questions from YouTube and from persons on the panel. So I have a question here. What has been the greatest challenge for you as a father? In the interest of time, I'm going to be going between Mr. Tomlinson and Mr. Vassal. So I'll start with Mr. Vassal. What has been your greatest challenge as a father?
My greatest with the artistic kid.
Yes.
School,
Well, yes.
school, school,
Oh, okay.
school. It's always been a challenge to get him in a school because of his condition. Um, I've been to prep school. There's so much various at school that we went to and stuff, but it's never always a satisfaction because school are not really equipped and ready for this to deal with autistic kids, So schools all the while is always a challenge. Sorry. Sometimes, even a prep school, they say, okay, they take school with disability, but when you go there and look, they're not really trained and stuff to deal with it. It's something that I've really seen before. So, school is always a factor. Even here, you notice the kids, the autistic kids, most of them stay home and stuff like that. The facilities are not here. I should use that word for the kids with the autism. Because the school is the problem.
Agreed entirely. Schools are a challenge, and not just schools, but public resources are publicly
That's what I
available
was going to ask.
resources. Yeah, yeah. The schools, the teachers, trained personnel, and even to go as far as, persons who are there specifically to help autistic and neurodivergent kids
Mhm.
is severely lacking. It's very, very lacking. We can remember even, the same choices in schools because you want the best for your child, but you don't want them to be alienated. You don't want them to be not taken care of properly. And it's a challenge, identifying a school, or even, any great public spaces that are accommodating to our kids. It definitely would be the challenge I would also identify with.
Oh, okay. Okay. So there's a need for more resources around at the schools, at the spaces where your children will be occupying. There should be resources for you to access to make that process of parenting more manageable.
Absolutely. I think something like that should take precedence. Not just precedence, but it should be accommodated because at the end of the
Mm,
day, you have more neurodivergent kids now than you did statistically 10 years ago. Or
So,
maybe it could
so
just be
true.
the case where we're just now learning to identify it. You don't know.
I,
mhm.
I just think that for some reason I don't know, it's on the increase because even you growing up, you normally
Agreed.
you never no seriously you never see.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's something happening that I don't know how they can really identify because they've been trying to pinpoint exactly where, and nobody can really come up with a solution and say, "Boy, yeah, this is it." But it's on the increase. It's in the classroom, every prep school, every primary school, everywhere you go, you see it more, and it practically never exists that much back then. You understand? You can say, but it's not that people used to have the kids at home and stuff. No,
Chipping out there.
Yeah, bro.
Go again, Sir Vassal. No, yeah, you're not
The
muted, but
audio.
we're not getting any audio.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I agree. Your mind goes so many places in terms of trying to figure out what's the cause. Is it isolation? Is it that the kids aren't socializing as much as they used to? Is it the food? Is it how, parenting styles have changed over the years? Is it genetic? Is it,
Is it the
there's
food?
so many unexplored or unanswered questions in my estimation. And you're right. I mean, it's difficult to pinpoint, but there definitely is an increase, or a
Mm-hmm.
perception of an increase. But like I was
Mm-hmm.
saying earlier, it could be an increase, or it could just be our detection methods or methods that we use now to identify autism or
Mm-hmm.
neurodivergent behavior has increased. And now
Mm-hmm.
things that we usually just leave as, oh, it's a little bad picnic.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Now we're
right.
quantifying it as neurodivergence, or we're quantifying it as autism. So
Mm-hmm.
that could be part of it. We don't know.
And
Mm-hmm.
to be honest with you, growing up, probably it makes you look back at some kids that back then you say, "Why that one them bad," and then you realize you think to yourself, say, "I wonder if he had ADHD or he was
Yeah,
autism." Or, yeah, I'm
yeah,
almost sure you think of that, right?
yeah. you force, you think back and you say, hold on
Yes,
there. But
yes.
that one there,
Right. I
when
want
I,
to look something be
yeah,
happening,
Something.
man.
Yeah.
No,
So
that's a good thing. It's good to be able to identify certain telltale signs in the world around us that might point in the direction of somebody being on the spectrum. But
Absolutely.
just for full disclosure, we're not saying that you need to start questioning the people that you don't get along with. Chances are it could just be just what would I say, a clash or friction between your personalities. But we can't rule out all the possibilities.
Yeah, but you
You
can't
know,
quantify all the possibilities either.
right, right,
Right.
right. There's room for skepticism and there's open-mindedness for the possibility. Yes,
Right.
definitely.
Correct.
All right. So I want to swing back to one of the questions that we have from YouTube. I'm going to give this one to Sir Tomlinson. How, as a parent, how do you cope with changing your parenting styles to accommodate the changes? So how do you cope? So having not necessarily having to use the style that you're comfortable with, do you have to do anything to compensate or to get accustomed to that new parenting approach that you have to use for your child?
Are you uncomfortable changing your shirt every morning?
No.
Exactly. Your parenting style, yeah, listen, you can't be rigid. Um, being rigid, you only get one set of results. Being very dynamic and very fluid in how you approach a problem, you stop seeing a problem and you start seeing a potential solution, or you start seeing a potential adventure. So the thing about it is, all right, you may have a child that is limited in terms of their dietary needs, or they restrict themselves in terms of their dietary needs because the neurodivergent side of them is like, his nuggets and his fries and his juice only. Them don't want nothing else. You find innovative ways through selective parenting methods. Um, so my wife would be like, try and encourage her to eat new foods, to eat new this. And,
Mm,
for me, it's just simple. I know what she eat. Chicken leg,
mm,
mashed potato, two slices of cucumber, one piece of tomato, and that's a balanced meal. And if we're not stray too far from that, hey, guess what?
it's
It's
good.
easier to prepare, but then at the end of the day, you don't want to short them of any
Mm,
quality of enjoyment. So your parenting style has to change, and you have to be very comfortable doing so, because at the end of the day,
mm,
just think about when you tackle certain problems, um you know if you can fix it with a hammer, you might have to fix it with a scalpel, you might have to fix it with
mm,
a pair of pliers. You have many ways to tackle a problem, but sometimes the problem doesn't necessarily need a bigger hammer, it needs sharper nails.
yeah,
mm,
that's
mm,
so true with that question. I mean, you adapt. Is the word, you
Absolutely.
adapt. Once you start and you go daily and you go daily, you understand the child more, you understand the needs. I mean, you start to accept that. Listen, it's not really to accept. You could try your best sometimes to get that child to eat something else. Because my son, he grew up on burgers and fries. And I mean, even up to today, we cannot put the gravy on the rice, give him. He's 15-year-old and him chicken has to be fried, no
That
gravy.
is
He has to
sacrilege.
have,
mm.
Sacrilege. If the gravy ever touch the food, you
if
have
you
to just
ever
dash
touch
it away.
rice, you
Yeah, man.
better you don't want it. So you have to learn to adapt and adjust, because and you will do it over the years. You see what he likes and what he, and you know what happened? Sometimes, because he would even take the vegetable off the burgers. But I realize now that I see him start to pick and start to eat a little vegetable and a little one and two things that he never normally. And I'm like looking at him saying, boy, that is so good. I mean,
Mm,
because he was so scared growing up with the diet. But it's a, oh, can that grow a child? Why the how that what nutrients is in that? But you could never get him eat something else. But now, as he grow older, and trust me, sir, you sound like your daughter is gonna do fine. Later on, don't worry about the eating. I think that picky eating, I think she's gonna
I mean, look how much she's gonna do well to try other things, and
Right.
that's what I'm seeing with my son. So I'm not worried about that. But as I said, no, it's something that you adapt. So every parent with autistic kids, once yeah, you nurture and care for that child, you'll overcome that,
Absolutely.
and stuff.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you. All right. So back to you, Sir Vassal. So we're going to stay on you. You said earlier that you are known as the autism whisperer.
Yeah,
So
man.
I have a question here. What were some early signs that suggest? What are some early signs that could suggest that something is wrong
Actually,
or the child could have one of those things?
actually, yeah, I used to watch YouTube, not YouTube, sorry, not YouTube, but on television, sometimes it comes and you would switch a channel. It's not your business, But with my
Mm,
son, when he was like almost 2 years old, I went to his grandfather's house. Him have a farm with coconuts and stuff, and he had the coconuts on the ground, and there were 4 coconuts, and then he put them together, and then one roll out. Then he went back and he put it back in place. I'm like, wait a minute. He rolled back down the hill, he went back and he put the 4 of them off the line up. I'm like, uh-oh, that was a red flag. And I would say
mm,
that wasn't Sister Boy convinced me, but that was the
mhm,
very first. And then I went, and I asked questions. And then
mhm,
somebody said to me, like, he's like what they call regressive autism, that he was developing okay and then he comes a little bit back. You know what I mean? So
mhm,
but I went on a research and then little after that my fears, come true. But that was the first time that I noticed that something was wrong. That was the very first. I would never forget it, you know,
mhm.
and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so for me it was a delay in the speech. You know, we were keeping tabs on, where we think she should be at 1 and 2, and you're not getting the type of verbalization that you would expect at 3, or you're not expecting uh, a 3-year-old can be able to um look your face to straight in your eye, and speak to you face to face, but not always turning, and that target fixation now on a fan, or the one watch this one show and don't want to change the channel. And listen, if the show done by itself, why house mash up.
Mhm,
you know and luckily, again, we were looking at very you know cautionary measurement of development details of our daughter. And she would check the box 8 out of 10 times, but those two things that were missing is like, you're expected your typical 3-year-old to be able to do this and communicate in this way. And then we caught it, and we're like, just like Mr. Vassal, we have to do our research. And we started trying the consultating process, and we realized that yeah, she has ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder. And when you look at each child, like Mr. Vassar said earlier too, it's a spectrum. Yeah, you fall somewhere on the line of the spectrum. So you may have some kids just displaying, those verbal cues and body language, being having a difficulty picking up on that. You have other kids that would, be throwing full-on tantrums, and you have a mixture of the two. You have non-verbalization. You have some persons who stray into the realm of ADHD and not necessarily autism. Um,
mhm,
you know, so it can be a mixed bag. And for every child, for every parent, for every situation, it's different. And it's just what you're dealt with, and having the ability to try and get some form of assessment or some cue to start looking into it as early as
mhm,
possible. And again, don't deny it. Don't be in denial, because at the end of the day, the faster you can pick it up is the faster you can respond, is the faster you can start trying to get help. based on what
Mhm.
limited resources is available anyway. But yeah, I mean,
Early intervention.
early,
Mm.
early.
Can I ask, is your child verbal or non-verbal?
And she's verbal.
Oh, she's verbal.
I wish,
Okay.
so when she started, she was non-verbal. She spoke
Oh,
very little,
okay.
very, very little. No, my God, like, like listen,
Yeah.
if I can get 10 minutes of quiet,
What?
yeah,
Are
man.
you serious?
If I can get 10 minutes of quiet, yeah,
Right.
that would be great. I mean, no, because
Okay.
you see where there's still some lags in developmental progress, but my wife and I would always discuss the first 7 years of a child's life is where 90% of the brain develops.
Develops.
And the difference between a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old is night and day difference is very large, right? You're bringing up 90% of their brain development in over a 6-year span. So so each year is like 15% difference, 15% difference, 15% different. So what you realize is she wasn't very verbal up to about the age of about 4, and then reach 5, and it's always been progressively increasing, and then we just wake up one morning
Mm-hmm.
and good morning, daddy, how are you? I'm like, what? Yeah,
Seriously?
I'm good. Like, are you okay? Yes. I'm like, she start asking me if I slept well. I'm like,
I,
yeah.
Am
And
I
wow.
dreaming?
it was
That's what,
literally, you
you
know,
okay.
it was amazing. It's just like, okay, no, we were struggling for her. I mean, she could read a long time ago. So we used to read her bedtime stories from Shaban. And at the age of 2, we started realizing now that she, word recognition, she's picking up words, she's good with words and numbers and everything. And but before she was the age of 3,
Uh-huh.
we don't read her bedtime story. She reads it to us.
Are you
And
serious?
yeah, we're not
Oh,
talking
you have
about
a little genius there then, man.
yeah, man, and we're not talking word recognition. We're talking she's
Mm.
recognizing intonation, she's recognizing context. So from very early we were like, okay, all right. And that was a very big cue for us, you know.
Oh,
Mm.
yes.
Sorry about that. That
Okay.
was a very big cue for us to say, hey, she's a little spelling genius as well. She's a part of
Wow.
the spelling club with school now as well.
Mm.
But like I said, we just mostly recognize stuff that were behavioral, and communicative. But I mean, literally, we just woke up one morning, we tried to get
Mhm.
some therapeutic help, etc., etc. And hats off to the therapist that we could find, because as Mr. Vassal would know, it's difficult to
Right.
find, or even difficult to even get on a list. And
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
you have to be fighting and fighting for help, etc. And we did get help. We did get some formal form of help, and it's sometimes you question whether the help is working, yes or no.
Yes, that's true.
Mm.
That's true.
Because you see very little progress, or you see so minuscule progress that you question yourselves. But I mean, yeah, literally Monday night you go to sleep, you tuck her in, and Tuesday
Mhm.
morning she wake up and is like, okay, daddy, what time is school? And I'm like, what? I mean, what time is school?
Ah,
Mm.
okay. But
And
I can
no, if I can get 10 minutes of silence, enough that.
but as I can add to this, right? You see, sometimes your location where you are, because I'm on the western end of Jamaica, and
Same
what
here,
happened
same here.
in Negril,
Yeah, man. So I'm in St. James.
in St. James. Well, you're kind of semi-lucky because a lot of folks won't. I mean, the journey to go see a therapist or a speech therapist or a behavioral therapist or so forth. So it's kind of, even when you're on the west side there, it's kind of hard for some folks to really get up and seek assistance for their kids. And as I said, it depends on where you are. Montego Bay, you have a lot of that and stuff. And
Yes.
I know people who has to make the journey to go to Mandeville or even make an appointment somewhere in Montego Bay. But I think that something should be set, I mean, up in each parish where it's easily accessible, where folks can, because trust me, if somebody put somewhere, not only like places like Montego Bay, Kingston, Mandeville, you know, places like maybe somebody in St. Mary having a problem, and it's gonna be hard to travel so far. And you know, and there's folks that who needs the help, and you know, I think they would even, you know, want the help and stuff. But just to travel, it's trust me, it's very, 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 very hard. It's
On
very
Agreed.
that
hard.
note,
Agreed.
uh,
Agreed.
on that note, since you brought that up, we actually have a question here about support groups and resources. So for those persons that might have children that are neurodivergent or they want access to that information so they perhaps help somebody who they know has an autistic child, do you know any support groups or resources that persons can access for help?
Mm, mm.
So
No.
you, I'd have to put that like in a comment
Okay.
after. But you know, there are some exceptional help available, but like Mr. Vasu would say, you know, typically it's usually near the major town centers like Montego,
Right, right,
like
right, right.
Kingston, and I guess because of just how the population is set up in terms of the larger mass of population is spread between
Right, right, right.
cities. So most of the help would be there, but you know, we found some good help. Dr. Ann Marsha Burkett, as a speech pathologist, was here in Montego Bay, but has gone back to Kingston. We have MDR therapy in Montego Bay. Like I said, I'll you know, with your permission, I'll post the links to the comments. Um, you know, you have like somebody like Miss Gregory in Ocherous, but she goes on the ABA route, um, which is the applied behavioral analysis route. That's not for everybody, but for persons who that would be a good fit, that is probably an option. You have a myriad of resources, but it's just where they are. They're not that's highly accessible to everybody and
Hmm.
everywhere. So I think that's something that we can post in the caption after.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
man. Right. Somebody need to
So,
set up some office in the rural area, man. They'll trust me, they'll do good.
okay.
Because no matter where a child is from, the problem is still there.
Right,
You understand?
right.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Agreed.
All right. So I have just a couple more questions. Some of the questions are related to things that we had answered earlier. So I might have to skip over for those. But I have a question here. Do your children are only children? They're the only child, or do they have siblings?
So
That's
yeah,
okay. You go ahead first, sir.
no. The simple answer is yes. So she's the only child, so the firstborn, only child thus far. We don't know what the future holds for anybody, but only child
Yeah,
thus
man.
far.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Answer the
Well,
vessel.
well, kind of a little different. In total, six. The one with the autism is the third,
Hmm.
and you know, I have three after that. But I might end this in a sad note where the last one I suspect is a young one. I suspect ADHD. You know,
Mm.
actually do everything normal, but I kind of suspect because you know, as I said, I know about this stuff. So you know. I don't think so.
Oh,
I
okay.
have six in all, but one with autism and suspected. I won't use a word because he's
Oh,
not
okay.
diagnosed as yet. You understand me? The last one. He's still a
Oh,
child,
okay.
a baby. Hmm.
Well, I have a follow-up question. So since Sir Russell, since you have siblings, your son has siblings, what what do you do to ensure that the brothers and sisters they get along with him?
All right. Well, this might come as a shocker again, but it's not everybody is in the same household. But what happened is that we're pretty close because sometimes I would like go for him and and all the kids them I would put them together and stuff. So just to make the have this bond, and stuff. So actually everybody is in close proximity except one. So so that's what I would even put it in their head that listen me. Let them explain to them and they know about their brother with a challenge and stuff. And I would preach them daily and daily, say, listen, man, if anything happen, what to expect and what to do. So, to take a little ease off of my head because, actually I can tell you is one of the worst thing to think of. Boy, what happened when you gone, what will happen to your child? And I think that probably listen your lifespan too. Because you keep worried about that child, you're worried, well, you love your child and you're worried what's gonna happen when you gone. That is the number. Ask the gentleman. That's the number one worry. What will
Yeah,
happen if
absolutely,
what
absolutely.
happened to
Because
you
nobody's
when your
gonna care
child
about your
gone?
child more than you.
Nobody can care for your child as you can. Nobody.
Correct.
So you always worry about that. So you try every day. You say, listen, me, it's your brother. You make sure, and some of them would even be a little bit jealous if I probably put in place stuff for him more. And I said, boy, he maybe later he's gonna need it more than anybody else, and stuff out and thing. But actually, I just try my best to just let you know that listen, man, you're all a unit, you have the same surname and stuff. You might not have the same mothers, but and stuff. So that is just what I try to do.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's a
So I
fair
have a
perspective.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I have a question here relating to criticism and stigma. I think Sir Vassal had touched on that earlier, but I want to know what tips might you have for parents of neurodivergent children to deal with stigma?
Ignore, override, overcome. You can make criticisms about people and their children without looking into your own family. Everybody has problems. Everybody has skeletons in the closet. This is just the ones that you can see with our children. If somebody held you under the microscope, if there's something to find, it will be found. Now,
Yes.
at the end of the day, listen, everybody has a different brought up, see, everybody comes from a different background. I said earlier that, Jamaica is a country that likes to criticize even when we don't understand something.
Mhm.
I can say that even for me, having a particular medical condition, which is, not necessarily how I was born, but, it just happened to me. And, the first thing you're going to hear say, oh, this happened to him and that happened to him. And when them tell me, I'm like, really? That's what really happened? Oh, okay. That's news to me. And you look at it and you say, okay, people like to jump to conclusions. And, a lot of the times people like to jump to conclusions without knowing the facts. So I think instead of making just wild guesses, um, we should probably propose that, listen, calmly explain to them or speak to them about autism or about neurodivergence. And, it's something that can be a icebreaker as well for perfect strangers or for persons who you're just meeting for the first time and they start having this criticism, etc. But I mean, you can't stop people from doing what they want to do. You, as a parent, have to stand up strong and stand firm and just know, so you're doing this for the love of your child, and regardless of how people may have their own perception, you're here to just do a job, and the job is to be a parent, and is to be a parent to a neurodivergent child. End off. I mean, there's no argument, there's no criticism. Um, let people assume what they want to assume. There's nobody that's going to parent my child better than I am, or at least we are. So, just get to the job, stick to the task.
And that is so true. And at that point, let me tell you something. And this is the truth. I think most because it is to me it's on a wide scale, it's getting so, out there, this autism thing that what I have noticed at first when my child was young is like there was such much a stigma that everybody would look at you, what happened to you? And even now, I even see folks that even security guards sometimes I would pull up somewhere and I look at my son for a couple of minutes and then I would say, they say, what go on? And I'm reluctant to bump their fist and stuff. And I look at them and they would look at me and say, you know, I see something I notice, you know? And I'm like, wow, a security guard kind of pick up that something is not right, you know? And it's not that
Mm-hmm.
alone. Other places have, gone with my child and I've seen some folks that they kind of like a picking up. And it let me feel good for say, boy, look at Jamaica start get a little bit aware and stuff. There's a lot more to be done, because, a lot of people, it's stigma and so forth and thing. But I think some folks are finally, slowly, but finally understanding, because I can almost guarantee you that they have some family member with the same problem, as I said, on
Mm-hmm.
the increase. So actually they're more aware now. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So that is just what I say.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Sir Tomlinson, Sir Vassal, thank you for giving us your insights in your experience.
Not a
Yeah,
problem.
man.
I've been given the cue that this brings us to the end of our session. It has been a
Yeah.
pleasure being the moderator for this session,
Yes, man.
and we should keep in contact, and we'll get some information from you regarding those resources that persons can access for
All
their
right.
children who
All right, no problem.
have autism. All
No
right.
Sir
problem.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tomlinson,
gentlemen.
Yes, man.
I'll
big
hand
up,
over
man.
to
Big
Miss
up, man.
Rose.
Keep
Yeah,
it up.
man. Big
Keep
up
up the
yourself,
good
brother.
work. Keep up the
Yes,
good
sir.
work, man.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll do.
Same
We'll
to you,
do.
my brother. Same to you. Same to you.
All
And
right.
thanks for having us.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir. All the
Thank
best.
you for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, man.
Thank you,
Thank
fathers.
you. All right.
All
Respect.
right.
Yeah, man.
Over to Miss Rose.
Thank you so very much, Sir Butler. I want to be bold and say for our audience that has been with us for the last 4 days that I feel like this has been the best. It was truly, truly amazing. So many points of goosebumps and chuckles, and I want to say that Mr. Butler, you did such an exceptional job providing such a safe space for both Mr. Tomlinson and Mr. Vassal to be so raw, authentic, and honest. It was truly a gift to listen to these two Jamaican fathers that embody what true fathering is, and I feel, such a deep privilege to have heard the message this evening. And I know it's a Friday evening, and Friday evening people typically want to unwind and decompress from the heaviness of the week. Some people want to go and have a little fun. So maybe everyone wasn't online, but I feel very confident that when this conversation is picked up, that it is going to spread, and I hope it will spread. Gentlemen, thank you so much. We owe such a debt of gratitude for having you on this evening. So many nuggets, so many powerful things, just so raw and honest. And I know that any fathers that had the esteemed privilege to hear you must have been motivated. With all of that said, on behalf of all our partners, our presenters, our moderators, our hosts, our guests, our IT support, and most importantly, our audience, I must say thank you to everyone in a very collective way. We have to salute Dr. Elizabeth Crossman of Sarah and Mr. Andre Hewitt of the University of the West Indies Western Jamaica campus for their indefatigable efforts in bringing this week to fruition. For everyone whose small, medium, and large role helped us to stage this week, we are immensely, immensely grateful. We are a firm believer that knowledge is power. No matter how often you might hear the message, it makes a big difference. It has been a week of amazing dialogue, and it is our hope that as a people we will take the points, the insights, the suggestions, and the charges to boldly and intentionally step into parenting. I love when Mr. Vassal said, if anybody looks at him and his son, he looks right back at them. I think that embodies what we want for intentional parenting. And as Mr. Tomlinson reminded us, it is not an easy job. We all have difficulties within our own families, and we know that the journey of parenting is not perfect, so we don't want to give up. There was so much that was poured out and poured in. And we hope that you will be led as our audience to pay it forward to your children and to your other parents as friends that you might know. We hope that you were poured into in such a way that you are motivated, refreshed, and emboldened on this journey of parenting. We hope that your mind and spirit was blessed. We look forward to sharing with you next year on other range of topics that affect us as parents. Never give up on this journey. being reminded that we're all experts and novices at the same time. Be reminded that as a parent, much is required, and always, always rest in the assurance that you can do it. We thank you for your presence. Walk good, everyone, and have a wonderful evening. Good night.